the Serbian Football Show. It's your host, Milos speaking. Hope everyone's having a good night. And welcome to another week in the world of everything Serbian football. Got a couple things to talk about this week, like every other week. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Serbian Football Show. We're on SoundCloud, the Serbian Football Show as well. Soon we'll be coming to Spotify, so keep an eye out on that. But just working on that, so soon we'll be on Spotify, so everybody that's asking can hear us on there as well. And this week we have a couple special guests joining me, like every week. Luke, my man, how's it going? I know you're going to Mexico tomorrow. How did you manage that?
Basically, man, I saw the snow was falling where I live, and I just need to get out. I'm much more of a beach person than a winter person, so yeah, man, it'll be a nice little getaway.
You don't have to quarantine there or anything, no?
No, man, Mexico, you just go in and go out, dude. They got to figure it out over there.
The Serbia model.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. Alex, unfortunately, I know you're not going to Mexico tomorrow, but how are you doing tonight in Belgrade?
Estoy muito feliz porque finalmente jogaremos como um novo team. I had to try and get my new second language in, considering that Portuguese is now my new second language. So it's feeling pretty good. You know, my voice is kind of shot after screaming at the fact that we got Kosovo, because I was like, oh God, what's going to happen? But then I realized we can't play them. So I'm doing okay, I guess.
Of course, we can't play ourselves, Alex. What are we
on
that one?
That's true. But we do play ourselves every time we get our hopes up. So
that's true. We play ourselves, our brains, and everything in between. And fortunately, our man Veli is unable to join us again. The guy's just too busy with his fancy job and his responsibilities and all that nonsense. So no, Veli will be back soon. Next week he'll be back for our Q&A show. Next week we'll have a Q&A show where you guys send in some questions and we'll answer them all, and he'll definitely be here for that. But yes, Alex, as you were saying, better brush up on our Portuguese, because we have drawn Portugal into our qualifying group for, what seems like the 50th time the last 10 or 15 years. But today was the draw for the Qatar World Cup qualifiers that start in March, and our group was actually a pretty good one. We got Portugal, we got ourselves, we have Ireland, Luxembourg, and Azerbaijan. Hard to hate on that group. Of course, I would have loved to see us get a different team from Pot A, maybe some we haven't played in a long time, like England, maybe even Holland, something like that, something a bit more different other than Portugal, because we play Portugal all the time, and we play Ronaldo all the time, and it's not that fun anymore, and we never beat them anyways. So there's that also. But Ireland, similar team to Scotland, except they're on the bad side of the form. I know they haven't scored many goals recently. They have a new coach who's struggling. They're kind of in a transition period from their older generation, trying to bring some of their under 21 players. So it's kind of a team in a bit of a flux, and a team that we should beat, but they're definitely going to be tough. And then Luxembourg, we saw them in our qualifying group for the Euros. 2 pretty comfortable wins against them. I know they're an improving nation, but I would hope and expect us to beat them as well. And then Azerbaijan, the ghost of Gurban Gurbanov from back in the day, if you guys remember, when they beat us and tied us in, I believe, 2002 or 2003, whenever that horrible memory was. But yeah, Azerbaijan, difficult away trip for anyone, but not a high-quality side by any means, so that should be another, hopefully, 6 points there. Good group overall. I'd say we have a good chance of finishing second. Of course, with us, anything can happen. We have messed up easier groups, and we've gone through harder groups, which is against the bipolar nature of our national team that we always talk about. Luca, what is your thought on the group, and what are you looking forward to the most?
So I was watching the draw. I started watching a little late, so I saw Portugal, obviously us, and then the third team was Republic of Ireland, and I was like, damn, this is already starting to be a very tough group just from those 3 teams. But then we rounded it off with Luxembourg and Azerbaijan, and I was relatively happy with that. I think it's an interesting group in that we have Portugal and Ireland, who it seems like we play all the damn time. As a matter of fact, I think I've been to 4 national team games in Belgrade, and 2 of them have been against Portugal and Ireland. So 50% of the games I've seen was against these 2 teams. So it's It'll be interesting. I actually like that we got Portugal from the first spot instead of an unknown team because with an unknown team comes unknowns, obviously. So with Portugal, we know, we know them. We know they're a worthy adversary. Obviously, I think we played them to a few draws as well, and we're able to make some points off of them. So I'm kind of hopeful we can do the same thing here. I think aiming to get second place in this group is I would say it's a mistake. I think we obviously need to aim for number one because you get direct placement into the World Cup, you qualify. Number two is like what, three or four teams. The best three or four teams actually make it to the playoff, and the rest don't even make it. So I would say aim for number one. And quite honestly, man, I don't think that's like not doable. We've done it before, and like you said, in harder groups. But we also messed up easier groups. I think we have a chance of going number one, and that's what I'm most looking forward to. A good start, I would say.
Yeah, and I think if this was Euro qualifying, I'd be a lot less confident. But World Cup qualifying, we always seem to do it much better for whatever reason. And yeah, Portugal, I like it because our games start before the Euros. We have qualifiers starting in March, and Portugal is preparing for the Euros starting in the summer. So they may be a little distracted if we play them there's no fixture list yet, so we don't know if we'll be playing them in the first match round, but hopefully we are because they might be looking forward to the Euros and not really focusing, yet on qualifying. Obviously, they're a very deep squad and they can, beat us with their C team. But I think that is a key point. They might not be 100% into it, especially if we play them in the first game. That would be great. Catch them off guard, maybe wake them up before the Euros. And even if we play them in September, I mean, if they have a bad tournament in the Euros, Ronaldo might retire, things might go south, they might get a new coach, might be a bad atmosphere in the team coming off a bad tournament, so that could be playing into our favor as well, but who are we to say anything? We have a bad atmosphere in the team all the time, so no favors there for us. Alexa, what were your initial thoughts on the draw?
Well, I think it would be, as the Serbs would say, pomeri. I think it was about right. I think that from Pot A, look, Portugal, in my opinion, is one of the three best teams in Europe. I really think that they have a squad that is very much in depth, and they've prepared for life after Ronaldo very well. I mean, they've got great players in every position, but we've done well against them. I mean, but they've never really played us off the park. In the last Euro qualifying cycle, we got a draw at Lisbon, and we played very well at home. So it gives me confidence that if we get the right manager and if we get things right in this 3-4 month period between now and the start of the qualifiers, that we can actually compete well with those teams. I mean, look at some of the teams. I didn't want Spain. I didn't want, Belgium or France or any of those teams.
Right.
I would have preferred for us to play against maybe Netherlands or even England, because I wanted to see somebody different, especially because the Netherlands are in a big transitional period right now. They let go of Ronald Koeman, Virgil van Dijk's out. Wouldn't have really liked Croatia, but I guess because of COVID, those incidents and the politics are going to be kind of limited. And I think we got a team that, for whatever reason, we tend to do okay, and we tend to, I guess, kind of really make them struggle against us, even though they tend to, they beat us in the end, but, we've got a couple of draws against them, and it's not too bad. For me, happy with the pot free team. I think the fact we avoided Scotland and Russia and the Czech Republic is still pretty good. Ireland is a country that I love, and I love their spirit, and I think they're very similar to Scotland, but there's a difference with them and Scotland in that Scotland have a couple of great attacking players. They've got Leigh Griffiths, and they've got, Ryan Christie and Ryan Fraser. Ireland have nobody who can score. I mean, they're not the team that they were 4 years ago. They don't even have Shane Long or Murphy or any one of those guys. And Luxembourg and Azerbaijan, I mean, the good thing with this generation of players is I think that we haven't seen us drop points against minnows and against bad teams. I mean, we technically lost to Albania, but that game wasn't even played. And the last time we really screwed up in a game like that was against Macedonia, I think, in Brazil qualifying. So since then, we beat Georgia, we beat Moldova, we beat Luxembourg. So we've handled those teams very well. I think Luxembourg is again, we avoided Georgia, we avoided Bosnia, we avoided, Cyprus. We technically did Kosovo, but I guess because we can't play against ourselves, they got moved into the group with the Greeks. Azerbaijan is a hard away game, especially in these circumstances with the chaos in the country. But, I mean, if we can't beat... I really think that we should get at least 15 points out of the bottom three teams. And against Portugal, I mean, look, if we can fix the problems in the FA and get a manager who can come in and build something consistently, we would have a chance to fight for that spot. The problem is, I don't think that we're going to be able to do that because of the past track record that we have now. getting second would mean going to the playoffs, and you've got some teams that you can play against. I think that we can do well against Romania and against, even Turkey we did well against, and Austria, and then there's some teams like Switzerland and Ukraine, which you want to avoid like the plague. So it's a mishmash. I think that a lot depends on us. World Cup qualifying, we do okay. We do much better in a tournament that only sends 13 teams as opposed to a tournament that says 24 teams because we're bipolar, as you said. But I'm fairly satisfied. Again, we avoided the big dogs. We got a team that we know at least. And I mean, look, they didn't even try to change up the groups. I understand that because of COVID, it's difficult to have long trips. But I mean, you have Sweden and like Kosovo, Sweden and Greece and Kosovo in a group, and you've got, France and Ukraine who were just in a group like a couple of years ago, I think. And then you've got also Croatia and Slovakia who were in a group. Like they didn't even try to change it up. So I mean, it's frustrating, but that's UEFA for you. And overall, I mean, it's okay. I guess it could have been worse. It could have been better. And a lot depends on us as usual. And except for the millionth time, if we approach it right, we can get something. If we don't, we're going to struggle with Ireland. But I really think that if we want to be serious, we should get at least 15 points in those games against Ireland, Luxembourg, and Azerbaijan, and probably even try to attack Portugal because, I mean, stranger things have happened, right? We're knocked out by Sweden and France, Turkey overtook Ukraine, or Turkey overtook France, in the Euro qualifying. So why not? That's right.
There's always a couple of pot one teams that mess up in qualifying. We've often been the team to knock those pot one teams down to the playoffs, right? As we did with France and Spain, and then I think Wales. I don't believe it made the playoffs
Croatia
that year.
Too, back in 2000, I think they were pot one also. And
yeah, exactly. So all the time, even all the groups, there's always going to be some pot one teams that get surprised. I'm sure there'll be at least 2 or 3 this time around as well that get knocked off the perch, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did it. Portugal, we haven't beaten them in the last couple times we played them in any of the qualifying cycles for the last 15 years, all the times we got them. But I think we played well against them most of the time. Even the games we lost, we played some good football, created some chances. So it is a team that we're very familiar with and very, I wouldn't say comfortable with because we haven't beaten them, but it's a team that we know what to expect, and they definitely know what to expect from us as well. And I do think we can, at least get hopefully one or 2 draws in those games, and maybe a win as well would be amazing. And Ireland will be the key, of course. As I said earlier, they are in a transition period. They have a new coach that's played through the qualifiers that just came in for Mick McCarthy. I think Stephen Kenny, the former coach of Nadal, who had a very good run with that club, and then he took over the national team. But they've struggled a lot since he took over. But I think that's just part of growing a new team. He's made a lot of changes, got rid of some of the older players, brought in some of the under 20 ones that he was managing earlier, and I think they've played some decent football. I remember seeing a stat that they were like one of the best sides in qualifying at keeping possession and all that, but it doesn't seem like they're scoring any goals. Any goals they do score usually comes from a set piece, so it shouldn't be a side that threatens us too much. But Ireland, they have great spirit, just like Scotland, of course. They have some quality players as well, maybe not on the attacking end yet. They do have some guys like Connolly, who's developing, and a younger player. So they'll be hoping that those guys mature in time for the qualifiers to start. And the advantage they have on us, though, is that they've actually had a manager, even though they've been losing and failing in these games in the summer and the fall. They've actually had a manager who's trying to implement a new system. And that system might start to click by the time qualifying starts. So they're in a head start on us because we're in a much more flux position than them because we don't even know if the blockers is going to stay, if we're going to have a new manager. We don't know anything that's going on right now for our national team, but Ireland knows that they're going to have the same coach. They just let them in qualifying in the Nations League, lead them in World Cup qualifying as well. Results weren't there. They didn't score. I think they scored like 1 goal, maybe 1 goal in the last 7 or 8 games, some crazy stat like that, or 2 goals maybe. But that's a new coach, trying a new system, trying new things, trying a new style of football, and he might have them clicking by the time they play us, which is not going to work in our favor. And we saw last time we played Ireland in our group for the World Cup qualifying, the game at home was a draw. We should have won that game. I think we were the better team, but it was an even game. We saw like the defensive errors we had, ridiculous defensive errors we had. I think Stefan Mitrovic had a shocker that game, and I think Rajkovic made a blunder as well in goal, if I remember correctly. And then Ireland away was a very tough game. That great goal from Colado, but there was not much between us in either of those games. So I expect it to be similar this time around. I expect it to be a hard-fought one goal win or a draw, or we're going to lose by one goal. I think I expect that to be the outcome this time around. Ireland, even the games they're losing, they're not losing by a lot most of the time. I know they got trashed by Denmark not long ago, but usually they're losing like 1-0 games or 2-0 games. It's never a easy win for anyone, especially when you go to Ireland. We don't even know the situation with COVID. Maybe there'll be a vaccine. Maybe there'll be fans allowed. Still on the up in the air as well. I think empty stadiums work in our favor, especially against Azerbaijan and Ireland. Portugal obviously goes without saying. So a lot of things to think about. But, the most important thing is next week we'll probably find out about our manager. All of the sites are starting to report that Vladan Milojevic, former coach of Red Star Belgrade, who did a great job getting to the Champions League and the knockout stages of the Europa League a couple years ago, is the number one front runner now. Seems like he might be on his way out of his club, and I think he's coaching in Qatar or Saudi Arabia, one of those two leagues. Saudi Arabia, the Saudi League, and he's got Marco Marin on his team, but I think he looks like he's going to be out of the job there, and he might be coming into the national team, which would be fantastic in my opinion. Luka, what are your thoughts on the Milojevic rumors and the next, or anyway, just the situation right now with the coach up in the air?
Yeah, man. Look, man, I really hope those rumors are true. I think that would be an upgrade over Tumbakovic, and I think when you look at this World Cup qualifying group right here, the key will obviously be, as you guys know, consistency. And one thing that we have not been under Tumbakovic is consistent at all. I think our performance has been all over the place. Our results certainly have been all over the place. So consistency will be key to qualify here in the World Cup. And I believe that Milojevic could deliver that consistency. I really hope it's true, man, because in my opinion, that's definitely an upgrade. And I would love to see that. I would love to see if he can recreate the magic that he created with Crvena Zvezda in the national team, because obviously a lot more talent, obviously a lot more experience. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Fingers crossed that it's true.
Yeah, and if it is true, just give the guys the keys. Like, let him have time.
Yes.
He's a talented young manager. He's shown that he can organize a side. He's shown he can have a side that believes in him and wants to play for him. Obviously, some people criticize him as being too defensive or not taking enough risks. Like, we don't care about that. I'll take a 1-0 win over anybody as a Serbian national team fan ever. I mean, how many times have we got a shutout ever? Right. So I don't really care about that. I'm not too concerned about his defensive style or anything like that. It's all results, and he got results. For Zvezda, he got results for sure, and he showed that he can do a job. And if he does come in, I just hope it's I know he's a very serious manager, so I think he would have other options as well. So I think he has the pull and the ability to say, like, this is what I want. I want more of a commitment. I want certain things to be provided to me in order for me to take this job. And I think he can say that, and I think the emphasis hopefully can provide that. Just give the man a longer leash. Give him a chance to build a program, and not just a quick one and done like everybody else has been in the last 10 years.
Dude, couldn't agree more.
I agree, absolutely. I think that he's the only manager who would want to come in, who actually I would consider an upgrade over Tumbakovic, because we talked about it, that there are other managers that are probably much better, but they're all under big contracts, or they just wouldn't want to show up. I think that, listen, the way he played with Zvezda was mandated because it's a team that had been nowhere for 10 years, and he launched the greatest era in recent club history. I mean, the fact that they were into Champions League groups, they beat Liverpool, they drew Napoli, they knocked out Salzburg, they beat Cologne, they beat teams and played well against teams that they had no business playing well against. And for those that criticize him for the defensive football, I mean, the first Zvezda season, they played some tremendous attacking stuff. And even with Trukarički, when he had players at his disposal that could actually match and play against teams at that level, they played great football. We're a country that loved Ilya Petkovic when we were conceding one goal in the qualifiers, and now all of a sudden we're starting to whine because we're a defensive football, which is nonsense. So There's not much to add. I've said before that I would keep Dumbakovic, but if you're going to bring somebody in, it's, like you said, you have to give him the leash. He's 50, which means he's perfect for a long-term project. This is a team that can reach its potential in 2 or 3 tournaments, which can give him enough time to learn the ropes. I mean, the national team job is more different than the club job because it's a different set of rules. You're not with a team for a long time. You're only with them once every 3 months. But I think what he showed at Zvezda was his ability to scout teams very well. Zvezda, from a tactical standpoint, looked very much on point in most of the games. It's just that the talent or the psychological approach wasn't there. But the results speak for themselves. I mean, what he did, listen, people can give him, criticize him for playing for a club that has certain advantages and managing a club that has certain advantages or maybe doing this and that. But the team that he had, he purchased people well in the transfer window. He got a lot out of players that he really didn't have a lot to work with. I mean, the Zvezda team they got in the Champions League had no business being there, but he made them get there. And if it hadn't been for isolated incidents of stupidity, they would have got to the Europa League knockouts as well last year. And he is the longest tenured manager in recent club history, I think, since Branko Stankovic. So I'm all for it. Again, the fact that he's getting sacked from Al Ahly, or the fact that he might leave Al Ahly, is really a great sign of recommendation because we're taking a manager that's leaving. But beggars can't be choosers. We have to pick somebody who is willing to show up and willing to come in and build his career. I think that he's at his career where he can take a job. He's at a point where it would help him enhance his reputation, and I think that he can get us organized. He's known for a good defensive backbone, which is what we lack. And with the talented players that we have, I think he could do well. He's proven that he can beat teams better than him. I mean, even with Trukanic, he took the Serbian Cup, and Partizan was the dominant team, and he knocked us off the perch. So I respect him for it, and I'm pretty happy. But again, like you said, if you don't give him a long-term project, then it's all for nothing, really. And what I'm hoping for is that some other people answer questions like Marko Patlic, who comes out and says they were aiming for first place. Yeah, I'm sorry for the language, but no shit, we're aiming for first place. But, the biggest enemy that we're going to have is not going to be Portugal. It's going to be the people in the higher up offices, the people that run the FSS. Until we get rid of them, it's hard to get that excited about the team that we have, which I think is a very talented team. But the manager because he's going to keep changing and leaving until we change the people that have been ruining it. We can't get our hopes up too much, so it is what it is.
And by the way, Marko Pantelic has been the only person from FSS to say anything about the national team since our epic fail.
Who can say anything as a former player. He's the only one who has any credibility to say anything, which I understand why they're doing it, but I mean, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, total radio silence from our FA president, Mr. Kokaza, of course, who has said nothing since our failure against Scotland. It's all been Pantelic in the media, Pantelic saying this. So looks like Pantelic is probably going to take over the FA and be the president. It seems like this is what is being angled right now.
God help us.
Yeah, exactly. God help us, right? So who knows what's going on? But Milojevic, one thing you can say from his tenure against Zvezda is the team very seldom did not look prepared.
Mm-hmm.
The team very seldom did not give it their all. He didn't have any public spats with players. He wasn't in the media saying crazy things, doing crazy things. He's a very professional manager. He's always very respectful of his opponents, very calculated, very calm, and someone like that would be perfect for a group of players and for the national team in general. And we should really invest in him right now. If we have a chance to get him, look at how we struggled to find a manager these last few years since we got rid of Muslim. Even before we got Muslim, we were kind of struggling to find somebody who we can put the title on for a long period of time. A young manager who has potential, who can take us to a better place. They have the chance to do that now. They have the chance to have someone like him lead us for the next 2 campaigns, even just 2 campaigns. Just let's keep the bar low. 2 campaigns. Just give him a chance. That's all we ask is just give somebody an opportunity to build something long term. If we lose, even if we don't qualify and they keep him, I'll have more respect than if they just sack him after 1 loss and then we end up with some random Serbian league manager or some old washed-up veteran that just took the job because they needed a paycheck, essentially. So that's the main thing. If Milojevic does come in, of course, it doesn't mean that things will change in FSS or anything like that, but I think we'll have a man in the position, in the seat, who will actually care about that job. And I know in the past he's always said that one of his goals is to manage the national team, which not many of our managers even say that anymore, which goes to tell you a lot. But he's actually someone that said that his goal is to manage the national team one day. The guy is definitely a patriot as well, and he's a good personality. He's a likable guy, and if we do bring him in, I'll be very happy, and I'll be even happier if it's announced that he has some kind of long-term contract and he comes with some kind of project, as opposed to he just signs a 2-year deal and then we'll see what happens after qualifiers, because that would be really disappointing, because that's what we see with everybody. It doesn't seem to work out. And another note, we saw Luka Jovic today with a comment on Instagram about how he's looking forward to the qualifying campaign, how he's ready, how his team's ready, how they're ready for the challenges, and they believe they can win. It looks like Luka is feeling more confident. We always we were questioning his self-confidence and his level and his demeanor earlier in the year, especially in those earlier Nation League games where he looked awful. He kind of looked out of shape as well. It seems like his mind is sharp now. He's focused, and looks like he might be in for a bigger role on the national team, especially now if Mitrovic looks like he's lost his starting spot with Fulham, which is disappointing. I think he'll bounce back. But Luka, what did you think of Jovic's comments today and about the striker spot going forward in the national team?
Brother, I must say, man, I was pleasantly surprised to see that from Jovic. Like, very, very surprised to see that from Jovic, because like you said, man, there was a lot of questions about him. But what he said, man, I loved it, dude. I loved it to death. And I'm also wondering, like, why I was so surprised to see that from one of our players. It's like we need to hear that as fans from all of our players. Something of that nature. That, like, it'll be a tough group, but we're ready, and we want to play for Serbia. Like, we're Serbs. We're gonna give our best. I love to see it, man. So my respect for Luka Jovic has gone through the roof just from that one comment, because I think it shows, like you said, man, that his head is in the right space. I think he's totally focused on this. I think that these couple of goals that he scored for the national team in these last couple of games have really upped his confidence, and I hope this also translates to Real Madrid if he gets another chance. And what was your second question, man? Sorry, I forgot it. From my love for Luka Jovic, made me forget the question.
Well, it's important because we never see our players post shit like that, which is sad, right? Like, why? Like, they never post about the national team, period. Other than they score a goal, they put a picture up, right? They never see stuff like that. So
with the Serbian flag emoji, yeah, dude, and that's it, right?
We're talking about Mitrovic losing his spot at Fulham. And
oh, yeah. Right, man. Yeah, dude, I'm actually very sad to see that. I was so surprised. I think I texted you guys. I was like, why is Mitrovic on the bench? Is he injured or something when he wasn't playing? Yeah, that's sad to see for Mitro, but like you said, man, he's a fighter. He'll bounce back. He'll fight back and get that spot back, no doubt in my mind. But, the striker situation for Serbia is actually in a pretty good spot, even with Mitrovic, not being in form and losing his spot at Fulham. We have Luka Jovic, we have Vlahovic, who's also, you guys have seen him play in those three games, and he's been phenomenal as well. So I'm not too worried about the strikers on Serbia, and especially now that it looks like that a sharp Jovic is emerging. I'm very excited to see where that leads.
Yeah, and we also have Despotovic and Andrić in the Russian league who are tearing it up. So can't forget about those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Having very good seasons with Ufa and with Rubin Kazan. So they're actually in better form than any of our other strikers right now, goal wise. Jovic just came back from COVID, so he hasn't played yet, but hopefully he'll be in the team this week, and he'll have a chance to impress the Don again, because it'd be a shame if he didn't take advantage of his good confidence right now and get some goals, because Real Madrid is really struggling, and they could use a little kick from Jovic. Alex, what were your thoughts on his comments, and also what are your thoughts? Our first game of qualifying is only like 3 months away, so we already have to start thinking about the lineups and who's in form and who will be starting as striker as well.
Well, I think in regard to the comments, I think that the national team is the only place where he's had any type of form in the last 5 or 6 months, so I don't see it as much of a surprise. We've always been big on statements, but very short on action. Whether it's the fault of the players or the fault of the people around them, I think it's good that he said that. I think that the alienation, or the fact that the players feel alienated with the public and the national team, is only a logical thing, because the Serbian football public is very much not realistic when it comes to some things, and a lot of times they accuse them that they just go to nightclubs and they party and they drink, when a lot of it's not true. And if I was in their position, I wouldn't really post much about the national team either. And when you look at the atmosphere around the national team, it's hard to get excited except when good things happen. So it's a good thing that he showed some willingness for it. I agree that I think that Madrid should give him a chance. I think that they've been struggling recently. They might go out of the Champions League group, which means he could get some playing time. So it's a shame that they're not using him, but Real Madrid's that type of club. They've eaten up Eden Hazard and, other players much bigger than him. So he's just another one in the line of those guys. And as far as our strikers go, Mitro struggling in Fulham is part confidence, part bad form. He's been on red-hot fire for 3 years, basically, since Muslim started him in that game against Austria. He kept scoring for us, and then he kept scoring for Fulham, and it's a natural period of bad form, which happens to everybody. They've moved away from him. They focused on playing more fluid football, which has got them nowhere. So that's a testament to what they're making as a mistake, and they haven't committed to him. They haven't really... I think Trezeguet was the guy that fired in nearly 30 goals last year. Without him, they wouldn't even be in the Premier League. He's the guy who played in the playoff final injured, and he's given his all. He stayed when he could have had bigger offers, and the fact that they're just treating him like that, the fact that they're not letting him take penalties after like 3 guys have missed. I love Scott Parker, but I think he's getting it very wrong here, and I think the fact that he's giving him no minutes at all. Now, granted, he did have an injury. Some people said that maybe he came back with that injury in August too soon, but he's still scoring goals to some degree, and he's still moving well and playing well and assisting, so I don't think that's the issue. I think that, like I said, it's fine to love a club, but I think he needs to find a way to move on and go to a team that could utilize him better. I think some mid-table team, maybe even like, Sheffield, for example, or, whatever, not Newcastle, but some team in the mid-table could really use him, because I think that he has the capacity to score a bunch of goals, because he scored so many for us, and as far as his position, it's hard to mix and match. Him and Jovic playing together would be the ideal strike for us, but then what do you do with Tadic and Milinkovic-Savic? That's one of the things that I said after the Scotland game and after the previous podcast is, where do you build a team? Because really our 2 best players are in the attacking midfield role. A lot's going to depend on how you build a team. If you build it around Milinkovic-Savic, you don't have the need for a target man as much, because he fulfills that role. If you're building around Tadic for the next few years, then Mitrovic can come in and play with Jovic. Vlahovic has been tremendous every time he stepped on the pitch, and I think he has the most potential out of all 3 guys, and he's also the youngest guy in the team, which is really good. Even Despotovic and Andrić and even Nikola Stilic, who just scored recently for Partizan against Čukarički, maybe he can come on, and he scored 15 or 16 goals in the youth leagues as well. So our striker options are really, really good, and I think our team is, barring a couple of positions, is really more interested in the development of the center backs. What's going to happen with Jankovic and Markovic and other guys like that, because in every position we're pretty well covered. Left back, we've got 2 or 3 guys that can come in: Kostic, Ristic, Mladenovic. Midfield, we've got, Lukic and Milivojevic and Gulin and other guys like that. We've even got, Veljkovic, Nastasic, Milenkovic. They can come back and play even at right wing back. Lazovic is the only option, but Vic and Radonjic can switch to those positions as well. So we're very well covered in a lot of places, and I think that this is a team that, like I said, they're 22, 23, 25, 26, 28. They're going to be there for the next couple of cycles, and I think that this 3 at the back formation, when we switched to it, we played much better in this period than we did last year when we played against Portugal and Luxembourg. It looked much better. It worked under Muslim, so it's clearly the right formation. We just have to keep persisting with it and playing with it. And if we get a manager in who consistently prepares well for games and doesn't let the psychological aspect affect us, which is probably Tomakovic's biggest issue, then we should be okay, because Milovic, you knew what you were getting was that they were consistent. Even if Tomakovic has had higher highs, he's also had lower lows. So in that sense, we need to have some consistency, and we need to know what we're getting at. And I think the team is pretty much set. We're pretty deep in a lot of spaces for a team that, and for a country that hasn't been to a major tournament, or at least a year, 20 years. We're pretty well covered in a lot of spots. So I'm very excited for the future, and especially for the strikers, because you rotate them. Mita can be the big target man. Jovic can be the guy who moves. Vlahovic can do a bit of both. So it leaves a lot of options. It's just how you're going to attack people. And I can't say egos, but their personalities and their play styles. But you can play around with it. I think it's not gibble, as we would say. It's a good problem to have overall.
Yeah, and I think Mitra will definitely be back in the Fulham team. Let's face it, he's the only goal scorer they have. I don't know, Ivan Cavallero, whoever's starting there right now, he's more of a support striker in my opinion. They're going to struggle to score goals without him. He's the only true target man on that team, and he'll be back in the team, and he'll be back in the goals, I believe. Just needs a little bit of a break. I think Scott Parker, he's doing this, one, he wants to try something new to save his job, and also, 2, he kind of wants to shake up Mitra a bit and wake him up out of his slump, which, having him on a bench for a couple of games might do that, and we'll see what happens. But I think Mitra will definitely be back in the team. He'll definitely be back in the goals. And we do have a lot of players doing well in Europe right now. SMS for that free kick goal and an assist on the weekend.
Milankovic just scored, I think, tonight, was it, or last night? Was it?
He just scored the 9 stoppage time equalizer today, Milankovic, and then we can't forget about Savara and Testic was actually starting every game now for Cologne. He's a 19-year-old center back, so hopefully he's someone that we can work into the under 21s at least. He's part of our youth system, but he is born in Germany, so I wouldn't put it past those pesky little Germans to try and get him back. But hopefully he's committed. Seems like a good Serbian kid, judging by social media. So hopefully he's committed to us, and there's no funny business there. Definitely somebody that FSS should be keeping close tabs on, because anybody that can start in the Bundesliga at that age, especially in defense, quite the prospect, I would say. And he's a huge kid as well. He's like 6'5" or 6'4". Seems like a great athlete. So hopefully that's another name we can add to the list of young center backs coming through. Pavlovic doesn't even get on the bench for Monaco, which I'm not sure why. There must be some kind of issues there with him and the coach, because, I mean, to not even get on the bench after the club spend that much money on you. And I don't think he's injured, because he's been on every national team gatherings, even played for the national team. So not sure what's going on there with him. Hopefully he can get that sorted out and even get a loan move if he's not going to get not even playing time, any time on the bench for his new club. I mean, what's the point of being there? So hopefully he can get a move. And even, we look 10 years back, our weakest positions were goalkeeper and striker. And now we have Rajkovic and Dimitrovic in goal. And today you see youngster Marko Ilic starting in the Belgian Super League. He started the last 3 games. He won the last game. He got a clean sheet today. So definitely a big talent. And Nikolic as well, starting for Basel. So we're full. Yeah, Živkovic or Pauk as well. We have so many goalkeepers. I mean, where was this 10 years ago when we had nobody? We had Stojkovic, who wasn't even playing for any club. He was decent goalkeeper. He has some good games, but
We had all these guys. We had Brkic, we had Jurkačević, we had, whoever else we tried. We tried a lot of Avramov. Like, we tried 50 guys, and then it worked out. We have like 3 we can rotate. So it's crazy how things, it's like a double-decker bus in London. They show up, they don't show up at all, and then 2 of them come at once.
Yeah, exactly. And in the strikers, I mean, you not even mentioned some guys. Like Dejan Jovic has gone into the goals now. I think he's got 4 goals in his last 6 or 7 games or something like that. So he's doing a lot better now in the Austrian Bundesliga for Wolfsberger, the guy we forgot after, he didn't go so well when he moved to Eintracht Frankfurt at such a young age, but it looks like he's found his footing in the Austrian league. So strikers are just coming out of the woodwork. I mean, we don't have to worry about that for the next 10 years. Goalkeepers don't have to worry about it either. Midfield, Uroš Svacic doing very well for Valencia. I see their fans are raving about him, so hopefully he can find himself in he get his first call for a senior national team. I think he should have been getting called up already, but he wasn't. But I think he'll be a big part of the team going forward. So yeah, we have a very deep squad. We already know this. We have a very talented deep squad. A lot of our players are playing well in Europe. They'll continue to play well. We'll continue to sell players to good clubs. As you mentioned, Nikola Štulić, first goal for Partizan, 19 years old. Looks like a big talent, big tall kid. He's got some movement on him as well. Just the factory will keep working, right? The factory will keep producing the players. It's just we got to find the system and the program to put it all together and make the country's national team a success, and not just their individual careers at club level. Because as great as that is, as great as it is, seeing our players doing well for all these clubs, seeing them do well for the national team and for us to qualify and do well at tournaments would feel 10 million times better than it does right now. When I see SMS score an amazing free kick, I'm like, oh, great. Wish we could see that. Wish we see that at the Euros.
Right.
Like, come on. But SMS has scored a couple free kicks now, so it looks like we won't be missing Cloudov too much on that side of things, because he's become quite the set piece specialist now. So we're set in that as well. We always have a set piece specialist, and we just have another one right now. So no issues there. And let's just, to cap the show, let's move on to a little bit of Serbian league talk. We saw Red Star Crvena secured the title, the half-season title, this junction with that 1-0 win over Zlatibor. And then this week, I believe we're playing Slovan Bratislava. Livoreš, sorry, why do I keep saying Slovan Bratislava? Is that what they used to be called or something?
No, they've been a different teams. Bratislava is Slovakia and Liberec is
Slovan Liberec, yes. Slovan Liberec this week, chance to get some more points for the coefficient. Hopefully another win. It's already secured the advancement to the knockout stage, so not much to play for, but it's a very important game for the coefficient. If we're honest, we need this win for Serbia so we can get 2 teams in the Champions League qualifying.
Is it guaranteed that if they win that we do get 2 teams?
I think that's for season. That's for 2023. I think that we were hoping for 2022, but the freaking Omonia once again they beat PAOK and the Cyprus Coast.
Yeah, the Cyprus team. Yeah, the Cyprus team keeps winning. Like it's crazy, but I think it's guaranteed. Yeah, as Alexa said, I think it's guaranteed for 2023, but 2022. It's still up in the air.
Okay.
It would have been possible somewhat. I mean, if they would have, you look at the draw that they could get. I mean, first of all, for Zvezda, it's a big success. Getting a point against Hoffenheim is really good. Hoffenheim did come out with the best team, but Zvezda did fine. They approached that game very experienced and very well, and they got a good result. They should be Liberec because they're just much better. You look at some of the teams. You've got Real, Roma, Napoli, potentially Real Madrid. You got Arsenal. You got Dinamo Zagreb. Very few teams there that Zvezda can show up against and actually be considered the favorite, but if the draw works in their favor, like Royal Antwerpen or, maybe someone like Rangers or someone else like Club Brugge, for example, 2 wins can boost the coefficient up really well. So it's going to be interesting. I think that in 2 seasons you're going to have that coefficient pop up because I think the Conference League is also going to give the same amount of points as the Europa League, 2 for a win and 1 for a draw.
Yeah.
I think our teams can do much better there. And that's why I'm more frustrated that Vojvodina and Partizan didn't get anything this year because if they would have gotten anything, look how Zvezda's done. If they would have just gotten in, I think if Partizan would have just gotten in, we surely would have picked up some points and we would have had a chance to have 2 Champions League teams next year. But for Zvezda, it's a big game. It's a important game for them to just beat the teams that they should beat. They shouldn't take it easy. As far as the domestic league, I mean, they have that locked up. Whatever they do, they have it locked up because whether they're the best team or not, they play like the best team, and when they don't play like the best team, things go their way. So, in any case, it's a success for them, and I think it's been a really good season for Stankovic in this half season. He's done well in the games to match up good managers, and he's done well to rotate players. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the transfer window. Dragovic, that deal fell apart. They're going to need a left back. They're going to need some defensive midfielders. But I think it's been a successful year, and I think a win against Liberec is going to be crucial for them. The Czechs are also chasing us. Like we have Greece just behind us, Czech Republic, Switzerland. Some teams are chasing us. So in order for Zvezda to keep that spot in the qualifiers and to make sure that they don't start in the first round, they got to keep winning. So it's not just for us; it's for them too. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. If Partizan or Vojvodina just did anything, it would have been so much help right now because we do have a lot of countries chasing us. It's a crazy race for this coefficient battle right now, and I think a win against Liberec would be a big step forward, and if Omonia would stop winning, that would be awesome as well for that. And Alex, I just wanted to talk to you about one more thing. What about our boy Nana Lalatovic going to war against the board at Vojvodina? There's players not getting paid.
Everybody. It's just a great irony where he says, we have to talk about it because he says that this country's been so great and it's been so fantastic and it's so powerful. I'm begging for the president to give us paychecks because we haven't been paid in months. It's like such a... Vojvodina's had financial issues for a while. If you listen, Lalatovic would be the type of guy, if he's on your team, you love him. If he's not on your team, you hate his guts. But he's done that, us against the world mentality. It is a shame that Serbian clubs don't have the roles to function well. They don't have the basic things, which is what the FSA should be worried about, that people aren't getting their paychecks. Half the teams don't have their stadium, and people are, barely living off of €500 a month. So it's very frustrating. I hope they do give them the paychecks. They have been doing well. They've actually had a good season so far this year, considering they lost some key players. So it is what it is. I mean, he dug his own grave in a way in terms of, whining and doing this and that. I know that they should get their paychecks, but you shouldn't be calling on the president of the country to fix that. There are financial institutions, there are footballing institutions in Serbia that can fix that. So it's just another reality, the life of Serbian football. And
I just love his comments when he said the players are coming to training crying because they have no money. We have no money for going out. We have no money for our families. They haven't been paid.
I believe him. I believe him on that.
I do believe him. Yeah, of course. It's just you don't hear him You don't hear it's such a passionate plea ever from from managers in our league, and I think a part of it as well. He's trying to motivate his players, right? He's like, I'm with you guys. I feel your struggle. I'm not getting paid either, and they're doing really well considering they haven't been paid. I think he said they haven't been paid all year. Apparently, they're still owed the bonus that they were supposed to get for winning the cup last season.
Cup stuff, yeah. So they really messed up the finances because they had a really good period with Marko Nikolic was manager and other guys when they had Kacinovic and Milinkovic-Savic, where the club was like really well run. You didn't have issues with paychecks, you didn't have issues with the ground. It changed hands, and whenever SNS touches, it turns to shit. So I mean, it is what it is. People are running the club, come from the party, and they're mismanaging the money. But when does that ever happen in Serbian football? Woe is me.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we'll wrap it up on that note. Next week we'll be doing Luca will be in Mexico probably, enjoying some margaritas and senoritas.
Yeah. I'm only gone for the week, man, so I'll be back in time.
All right, man, sounds good. So next week we'll be doing a Q&A show. So just tweet us any questions you have, any topics you want us to talk about at Serbian Footy at Twitter, and we'll be happy to discuss them on the show next week. As well, leave a comment on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube videos as well, and we'll answer those questions also. Thanks for everyone for joining us this week. Next week we'll have our boy Veli back, who I know is listening to this attentively and biting his lips.
Shout out to Belgrade, who is fighting FC Belgrade, who's fighting for promotion right there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about that. I forgot to mention our boys FC Belgrade from Adelaide. The Pride. They're actually currently the most watched Serbian team in the world because they have 600 fans at their games and nobody else has any. So they're number one Serbian club in the world in attendance currently, and they've made it to I believe it's the state league final for promotion. I think it happens this Thursday according to Veli. So if they win, they'll be promoted to the first division of their state league, and that'll be.
Comes back podcast like we did against Scotland, but this time it's going to be jovial, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, nice change of pace.
So why not?
Best of luck to our boys from Adelaide and to our man Veli, and have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us again this week. Take care.